Hello and welcome to my country garden. We're on the 1st of March 2025, can you believe that? And there's loads to be done in the garden. Later I'm going to be transplanting some seedlings that I sowed last month. But first of all, I'm going to focus on beds, and I'm going to take you through the sorts of things that you might consider doing to prepare your beds to grow fantastic crops for an abundance of food later on in the year. Okay, here at the top of the garden I have got two of these beds. They're large metal beds that I've put a frame around and I've put some debris netting on. And the intention is this one here is going to be used for growing carrots and parsnips this year. We've got a nice depth to it, and it should be great for getting long roots. So let me bring you in a bit closer and talk about what I've already done and what I'm going to be doing to get this prepared for sowing the parsnips and carrots in a few short weeks' time. So you can see here that I've done some preparation in the bed. I've already topped it up with some compost, and I've actually put some sand in here as well, some sharp sand to help with drainage and to make it a more hospitable environment for growing, certainly this side, for growing my carrots in. I didn't put sand in the parsnip side, although potentially I could have done, but I just had one bag of sharp sand. So in here I've put some sharp sand and compost. In here I've just put some compost. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some cardboard to the surface of that bed, and that's going to act as a sort of little blanket for it to keep some of the colder temperatures off so that the surface doesn't freeze if we get some more freezing temperatures, which at the moment it doesn't look like we're going to get for a while. Yay! So yeah, I'm going to pop some cardboard in there, help keep the freezing temperatures off and sort of start to warm up the bed a little bit. Then in a couple of weeks' time, when I go to sow my carrots and my parsnips, I'll take that cardboard up. I'm going to sieve some compost on top just to give a nice friable, soft area for the seeds to germinate, and that will be them off and rocking and rolling in this bed, hopefully. The reason I've got the debris netting on actually was because I was growing some brassicas in this bed last year, but the netting I'm going to keep on because hopefully it will keep anything out from going in there and digging in the bed, and I think it's probably going to keep any stray carrot root fly from flying in there. It's fairly good mesh, and you know, it's quite a tall bed, so the idea is that carrot root fly can only fly maybe a foot off the ground, but the wind can blow them in places, so I mean, I don't think you need to take much heed of that. But actually having this debris netting on, I think, will be another little way of helping to stop the carrot root fly getting in there. So I'll do that now, and that'll be one bed sorted and ready for sowing in a couple of weeks' time.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun.
I'm not being precious about covering every millimetre of that bed because I'm not doing it to prevent weeds from growing, because as I say, I've just put some fresh compost on, so hopefully there shouldn't be much in the way of weeds wanting to come up. I'm just, as I say, wanting to protect it a little bit from the elements before I sow some seeds. So that bed's done. I'll pop the debris netting back on and we can have a look at the next bed. Okay, here's the second of the large beds, and this bed also had brassicas in, just like the other one. So the brassicas have come out now, and I've topped this up with a couple of bags of manure and a couple of bags of compost. There's still probably space to get some more in there if I can do. We've got the frame on, and we've got the cargo netting on, the debris netting on. So that is going to be used to grow brassicas again this year. I've got some nice cauliflower seedlings, cauliflower variety called Skipper, which I'll show you later on. They're coming on really well, and potentially we'll get Skipper into this bed, or certainly into part of the bed, and it'll be nice and protected with the debris netting. So you'll notice already, and you'll continue to notice, I love my debris netting. Now, debris netting is not dead expensive, and it really does a job where you're not wanting to let insects into a bed, and You know, at this time of year as well, or certainly when you're starting to sow things, I find that having something like debris netting or some form of mesh cover, enviromesh or whatever, over your beds, it just helps to dissipate some of the winds and some of the rain that, you know, we get at this time of year. So I think I do put netting on most of my beds. Now there is another reason for that, of course, because I've got chickens that will wander around the garden, and if in the lower beds, they'll hop in and help themselves to whatever they can find in there. So the netting also detracts from that. But you know, irrespective of whether you have chickens wandering around, I think it is actually quite a good idea to get some netting on a lot of your beds. Just to help, particularly at this time of year, to help with the weather. And then going forward, you have to have a think about what you're growing in the beds and whether you need to net or not. You may need to net, of course, to prevent things like cabbage whiteflies getting at your brassicas, or the opposite of that, it might be that you don't necessarily want to net, or you want to put net with larger holes over things like your strawberries, so that insects, pollinators can still go in and benefit from the flowers on your crops, and also you benefit from them pollinating. So have a think about that. Probably this is a good time of year to have a think about what you're putting in your beds and the sort of netting that you're going to need to actually have on those beds, and also the sort of structure that you're going to need to support that netting. The two that you've already seen so far, I sort of put some a sort of wooden frame, and then I stapled the debris netting on with areas that could actually spread, you know, open the debris netting up to make it easy for me to get in there. But there are all sorts of other things that you might do. You might make your own hoops out of water pipe. I've got that also in the garden. If I just, well, there you can see there in this little bed, I've got a couple of water pipes there, and I've got a piece of bamboo just attached over the top, and that just secures the pipes. The pipes are sitting, you know, they've been put onto bamboo canes just to keep them in, and I've got some debris netting on there as well. This little bed has got brassicas, little cabbages that never really did anything because I put them in quite late. So they'll come out, and this bed we're going to have some onions in. I'll show you my onion seedlings later on, so I'll be taking out the remaining plants in here, and I will be topping it up with some compost and popping some onions in there. And the support, I'm going to keep the debris netting on there as a chicken prevention setup, and also it just keeps things away from my onions, you know, if anything, any cats or whatever are wandering around the garden. The 4 metal beds down the side of the path here are where I grow hopefully an abundance of flowers, and it was lovely last year. I've already topped these beds up a bit with homemade compost, and I'll probably get half a bag more compost in each of these before I start planting out my seedlings later on in the year. Behind me here I have one of the 2 pea beds that I have set up. I've already got the trellis there for them to climb up, and what I will do with these is, again, I will pop in a bag of compost. So there's one of them, and if I just go round into the main growing area, here's the other one, and in here again I will top it up with a bag of compost before I put out my peas. And I've already got the douche Provence peas that are growing on well. I'll show you those in a little while, and they are going to go in here as my first peas that are going to be planted out probably later on in March. This, however, is the bed that I'm going to have to focus on now, and this was the only one of 2 beds that were in the garden when I first moved in here a couple of years ago. And as you can see, the surround of the bed is just collapsed, and I actually last year popped in some of these logs to try and keep some sort of shape to the bed. You can see the structure is fine. This is a structure that I put in, so we've got the 3 hoops of water pipe and we've got the bamboo cane across the top just keeping them upright. So that's fine and dandy. I can either use that when I sort out this bed or in other places in the garden. But what I'm going to do today, if I just pan you round, I've got some pallet collars here, and I'm going to use these pallet collars to form a new surround for this bed. I'm going to actually combine, the pallet collars are 1 metre square I believe, and I'm actually going to combine two together so that I'm going to have 2 metres by 1 metre, and I've got 2 sets, so I'm going to have them 2 high. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy away the existing border in this bed, and then I can see what I'm working with. I'll also take away the framework there, the hoops, and yeah, we'll see if we can get this transformed. Now the good news is we do have some plastic here, so I'm inclined to probably leave that in there, and that will save me having to put plastic around my new border. But we'll see how that's going to look.
Significant light, just where it was needed, gleaming black as night, cloistered in injustice, dead in the eye of time. Nobody is losing, faces merge and change, but your face remains the same.
Right, I just want to put something in the middle here to hold the sides together. So I am going to pop in a pole either side, a stake either side, and then put something across. I just need to dig down a little bit. There. Get my trusty clamp. Okay, done. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just put some additional pieces of wood to join the bottom and top bits of the pallet collars together. Okay, I'll do it that way. So, okay, I am really pleased with progress in this bed. I'm not going to get it finished today, but it is, yeah, very much better than the bed that was there before. And I think that's the thing you've got to have a think about. Is there anything that you can do to improve your beds if you need to improve them? Is anything a bit rickety like this bed was? Rickety beds, you can survive with them, but they come back and bite you. If you've got lots of rotten wood, you'll find you may well have wood lice and slugs and snails, etc. So nice new bed. Hopefully I will have less pest problems in the bed. Now there's still things to do here. I'm going to have to put staple plastic around the inside. I've got the old plastic here, but that's not enough, particularly since this bed is deeper. So I'm going to staple plastic around, then I'm going to start filling it. Now it is quite a deep bed actually, and the filling is going to take me a little while. I've got some compost of my own, not necessarily completely decomposed, but not bad. So I'll put a lot of that in here. I've actually got a couple of bags of leaf litter. It's not, again, decomposed, but if I put that down at the bottom, that will help bulk out this bed. And then I will buy in some compost to, for the top layers. This bed is going to be a brassica bed, so I'm going to fit a cage on it, rather like the cages you saw up at the top of the garden. But that won't get done today because I want to get some seedlings transplanted now because they are shouting out for it. So I'm going to tidy away what I've got here. I will show you progress on this bed over the coming 2-3 videos, I think, and then we should have this in a great position when my brassicas are ready to plant out. But for now, I'll tidy up, I'll prepare what I'm going to transplant my seedlings in, and then I'll show you the seedlings that I'm going to be transplanting today. So for this next piece, I've come into the chicken run. Although it's sunny outside, there have been some reasonable showers, so I thought it'd be better being undercover. And the reason I've come into the chicken run as well is because the girls, whilst they aren't in lockdown because of avian flu, I'm choosing to keep them in at the moment because there's been a couple of instances of avian flu in local reservoirs. So it's nice just to be in the run. There's some seats, a table, and I can just spend some time with the girls while I'm getting on with some gardening. The light isn't fantastic in here, so I'm at one end where the sunshine is coming in, but when I go and actually start doing the transplanting, I'll probably just focus in on the actual seed trays, etc., rather than my face, which you may not be able to see. Not a bad thing though. So yeah, let me just show you what I'm going to transplant and how I'm going to go about doing that. Okay, so what you see here is a number of plastic cell trays of varying shapes and descriptions, which I have filled with multi-purpose compost mixed in with some vermiculite, and I'm just going to water these and then I'm going to use these to transplant some things into. It's always a good idea to keep a hold of any trays and such like when you have been purchasing flowers or plants anywhere. Hang on, I need to top this up. Right. Hello there. What a racket, Edith, what a racket. Now, just as an aside while I'm getting this ready, this is the time of year when hens start laying again. They usually have a break over the colder months when there isn't so much daylight, and so you might hear some noises, some sounds like general disgruntlement, but that's just when they start being a bit more vocal like that, that's when they start indicating that they're going to come into lay. Right, that was a little aside. Here we go. This is the first thing that I'm going to be transplanting, and these are onions, and the variety is Exhibition. I grew Exhibition onions last year and I had a brilliant crop. I think I had 20 in total in a bed, and they were fantastic. In fact, I still have a couple of the onions left that I'll be using in the next week or two. They're just about needing to be used now. Some I've frozen, others I've just been using since I harvested them last late summer. So I sowed these on the 11th of February, and I popped them on a heat mat until they came through, and then I popped them under grow lights, and you can see what they're looking like now. So they're really ready to come out of this little seed tray or quarter seed tray. And I want to do this before they get really entangled where their roots are concerned. At the moment I should be able to split them up quite easily. So, oh, lovely oniony smell as well, of course. So, how do I do it? Oh, there's one already wanting in. I just get myself a Sharpie or other pen or a chopstick or whatever, or a dibber, and I literally just make a hole, and this is where the onions will go in. So I'm not going to do them all in front of you because you would fall asleep. Oops, and there's lots of them. So I'm just going to put in a couple and you'll see what they look like. So there's a nice one. It's got 3 leaves and a nice set of roots. And I'm just going to, if you can see me, I'm just going to gently pop this in the hole, firm up around it, and move on to the next one. I'm not planting them particularly deep, just about slightly deeper than what they were in the seed tray, just so that they can stay upright. Now some of these are still a little bit teeny, but they've got nice roots on them, so I'm just going to carry on. Okay, next in line to be transplanted are these lovely lettuces. So I've got 4 varieties of lettuce here that, again, did I even have them in yeah, I did. I very briefly had them on heat, then whipped them off as soon as anything appeared, and popped them under grow lights. So let's get some of these transplanted. Okay, so just at this point the battery in my microphone went, so I'll do a little voiceover. This first variety that I'm transplanting is called Elf Oak Ears, and is new to me, but it has grown really well, as you can see. Plenty of roots and nice little seedlings. So I'm just going to transplant these into the cell tray. Okay, next up is Marvel of 4 Seasons. This is a great, really versatile lettuce, and again the seedlings have come on really well. I've got great roots. I'm going to pop these into a cell tray just as I did with the other one.
This next lettuce is another one that's new to me, but what a name. Flashy Lightning Butter Oak. It's meant to be quick maturing. It's a butterhead lettuce. It's got dashes of maroon on dark green leaves, and it's meant to be lovely and mild and juicy and sweet with a silky texture. What is not to like about that description of a lettuce? Okay, here we are in the polytunnel. My microphone battery has just died, so I'm just using the camera phone, and you'll maybe hear a bit more noise down here because we're near the road. But let me just sum up where we are. I put my spare lettuce transplants in this tray here, so there's the 4 varieties that I transplanted today. And up here we have the lettuces that I transplanted today, and at the back there we've got another lettuce, Freckles, which has been out here for a couple of weeks. On the right hand side, here are my first sowing of cauliflowers. This is a cauliflower called Skipper, and they're quite a compact cauliflower, so hopefully I'll fit more in my beds. There's another couple of Skipper here. Here we have my January sown sweet peas and my February sown peas. So these are Douce Provence, these peas, and they get to about 30 or 40 centimetres tall. And I'll be popping them in one of the beds that I showed you earlier on, and I'll do that later on in March. Here we have my onions. So the onions I transplanted today are exhibition. That's these ones here. I've already got 2 trays of onions that I sowed in January, and we've got these ones here which are called Fasto, and we've got these ones here, that's a yellow onion, and then these ones here which are a red onion called Carmen. So that's my onions for the season. I've still to do shallots, but the onions are done and they're there. One thing though, I had a few spare exhibition onions, and I've actually multi-sown them in these pots. So these are, there's maybe 4 or 5 in some cases, onions in a single pot. I'll be able to, when these grow up a bit, be able to transplant these into little spare gaps in some of the beds, and whilst I'll get onions bulbing up, they won't be as big as the individual onions, but at least I'm putting them to good use. Over here we have some things that I sowed and just sowed them and left them in the polytunnel, so these haven't been indoors at all. This is Chimay de Rapa, which is it's like a turnip green, and you can see I've got some little seedlings there, but they'll need to grow on a bit before they get transplanted. Here I've tried outdoors to sow some of my poppy seeds, Poppy Love Affair, and I just put the poppy seeds on the surface of the soil here. It's still damp, but nothing happening here. They'll obviously be slower out here than they are indoors. And here's some of my strawberry runners that I prepared or took off the beds, I think a bit before Christmas. So I'm going to have to work out where to put these strawberry runners. I am pretty inundated with strawberries. Yeah, so that's what it's looking like in the polytunnel at the moment. And just looking at the temperature, it's a little bit dirty, but the temperature at the moment in here is 14.9, and that's probably because I've got the door open. And it was as high as 22.3 earlier. I reset this earlier on today. The low over the past couple of days was about 0.2 degrees Celsius, but there's been a bit of sun today, so it's been quite warm. Well, I'm happy I've got that stuff done today. I've got the seedlings transplanted, and the polytunnel is starting to come to life, which is nice. I hope you have got a few tips on what you should be thinking about to get your beds prepared for the growing season ahead. Please, if you have enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye bye for now.